So as you can see, we just took the ferry to Estonia. The skyline is right behind me, but we're gonna show you what this beautiful country looks like, all corners of it. You understand that? I think that's my sign to go down and exit the ferry. The outer city, the suburbs of Tallinn, Estonia.
It's beautiful.
It is.
You can see everything is made of wood, highly flammable part of it.
Highly flammable, but quite cute.
Crash course on the Estonian language, so it's related to Finnish. There's a lot of vowels, and I can't understand any of this, but it's similar enough to Finnish that if you understand Finnish, also a Uralic language, all these people, they came from over in the Ural Mountains in the middle of Russia, and they came over here, settled on the beach. I don't blame them, it's good property. Vertustades. Ajalugu.
Invest. I know invest. I know invest. That's my word. Invest.
Tullevikku. There you go.
So invest.
If you want to invest
here.
That's all you need to know.
Because the future of properties in Estonia, Lambo truck in Estonia, just a small sign of the wealth of this nation, or the recent wealth of this nation.
So we're taking the 73 down into the old town. I've been here once before, but I finally get to enjoy it with some good friends and some good weather. So it's time to get to the old town. It's only 10 minutes away. Estonia has a lot of Russians, not only in the east part of the country where there are a lot of ethnic Russians, but there's also a lot that have recently moved here to Tallinn because of the war, Ukrainians, etc. So when you're on the bus, when you're in the city, it's pretty easy to hear Russian, which is cool for someone like me who studies the language. But I do miss hearing Estonian as well. It's a beautiful language. Good job, Zach. Good job. You did good for once.
Where'd you find that soccer ball?
It was right up here.
Pass. Jan Cross. Seems like a very intelligent man. And as you can see here, we have the word books in a bunch of different languages. So check this out. It's the only one I know.
Last time I was in Tallinn, I came to this bookstore, and it was one of the most beautiful I've ever seen.
Looks like Robert Kiyosaki's quite famous in the Russian-speaking world.
Bogati papa, biedny papa.
Well, that same advice of taking on debt and saving money and becoming the rich dad, will that apply to the Russian people in this state? What are your thoughts?
I don't know, man. I just know that debt, it's probably actually better in that situation. You don't know.
Guess we'll have to find out and see. So we're heading to Tallinn Creative City, or as people like to call it here, Teleskivi. This is where a lot of the innovation out of Tallinn is coming. And Teleskivi has a lot to offer for new startups. Estonia, not too rich in natural resources, has been investing a lot of money into its tech industry. And they dedicated a neighborhood in Tallinn to contain all of these new, fresh ideas. Another part of Tallinn's idea for the future are these like food robots that just carry food to people's homes and stuff. The escalators here in Estonia are flat for some reason.
Samsa, one wasn't enough. This one is more on the savory side. It's samsa with potatoes and mushrooms. My second lunch, my third lunch.
And I know it's not easy, but it's deep inside me, offering up an escape. But these old
go into this tavern called the Three Dragons, and the menu hasn't changed for about 200 to 300 years. They have elk, bread, all the great foodstuffs of the prehistoric, the medieval times, I guess you could say. It's in this beautiful castle, and I mean, I've had such a lovely time here in Tallinn, and why not make it greater with a wonderful tavern experience?
We are at 3 Dragon, and we have some wild meat pastry, elk soup.
Bring the camera to me. Heareth. We are on our quest to slay the dragon, so we came to 3 Dragon. Wild animal pastry, elk stew. We are ready to feast. Shall we continue our quest to slay that dragon?
How is the tenderness of your meat?
Very tender for wild meat.
So now I will indigest an ox soup. It is more like a borscht, but from ages ago. So they clearly don't give spoons, forks, or knives. So I'm going to have to go in with a simple sip of the tongue. Delicious, scrumptious, perfect for a sojourner who is tired coming from the neighboring village. I've had similar soups in the East and in the Orient, but nay have I ever had a soup so good as this.
Welcome back to the beautiful city of Tallinn, Estonia. It's a little windy and looks like it rained just a little bit. But today we're heading to the city of Narva in the east of Estonia. Narva is a 90% Russian populated town inside the European Union that borders Russia. We're gonna go check it out and see how life differs from a city like Tallinn.
So what's the key defining factor of Narva?
So Narva, it's 90% Russian, which means that it's basically the last bit of the Soviet Union here in the EU. Obviously there's parts of Moldova, parts of Lithuania, Latvia is mostly Russian, but it's very, not even Soviet Russian, but specifically pre-revolutionary Russia, like 1918 kind of thing. So we'll see the castles and all that, and everything else we just have to see. I've been there once actually. I went there in August last year on my way to St. Petersburg. There's 2 castles that on one side it's Estonia, on the other side it's Russia, and they face each other. Back in the old day, those would have been enemy territories, but nowadays, well, up until the 90s, like 91, it was all one country. But first, we have to get a train ticket, one for each of us. The train's about 2.5 hours from here up to Narva, or across to Narva, and it should leave in an hour and a half, so we have time to get a little bite to eat first.
Baltiyam, the train station, right?
Baltiyam, and right next to it is Targu Baltiyam, so we can get some samsa.
Maybe we can find some
samsa.
babushkas.
Maybe tons of great food options. If you're ever in Tallinn, you should definitely go and check that out.
Кто тут банда? Трек не антракт и не мантра. I'm a god bliss, точно не пропаганда. I'm a god bliss in the hood, bloody.
This is the tram we have to get on to go and find the train station.
Вместо рук лапы банды, вокруг дамы банты. Мой мир на замок, блок, паутина Сандры. Я раздаю тепло, как Wi-Fi. We gonna dance all night. Я раздаю тепло, как Wi-Fi. We gonna dance all night. Come on, я раздаю тепло.
Hey, Steven's a little Italian, so we're gonna get him some pizza, pasta, some to remind him of his home.
Yes, I really need that reminder. I've been so watered down in Tallinn of my roots. I'm not feeling it.
Which one?
We gonna dance all night.
Dancing with the devil tonight. Can you hear my великан достал. За профиты вон прогнал. Бумба, клак, анимал, Бабилон устал. Либо ликовать за лав, либо закопать устами. Космостар, минимум мир к ногам. Буя, буя, my really love number one. Сил на Китай нам до верных рядом апостолов и перекочевать нам с этой планеты. Походу так будем же мы добрее. Буду любоваться каждым демоном и непременно менять тебя. Ты не загоняйся, ведь мы будем оголять провода. Грустная диска, саунда, реле Батман, это те, видимо.
Now this looks like more of the Soviet Union that I'm used to. Welcome to Narva, a city on the Russian border that is currently in the EU and NATO and in the beautiful country of Estonia. We're gonna go check it out and I'll tell you some history and some recent disruptions per se within the city. The street signs and the street names are also dually in Russian too, which is definitely different from what we experienced in Tallinn, where everything is in Estonian. Tallinn has commie blocks and it has living spaces and buildings like Narva. However, it also has a modern side to it too. And I think Narva is kind of lacking that, just based off of my first impression. This wind is just hitting me. Hopefully you can hear me quite clearly. How often do you get to see something like this? Estonia, Russia.
You guys want to roll down that hill?
I do want to roll down that hill. You first. This hill, if we roll down it, it should lead us right into the Narva River and then further into
hopefully
Russia.
to Russia,
It
yeah.
should also lead us right to the hospital. So let's
Well, Estonia has better healthcare than Russia, so let's do that on this side. But this is Ivangorod Fortress. That right there is Estonia. I've crossed that bridge once before last August,
And you're gonna cross it again.
and I'm gonna cross it again tomorrow. And I'm gonna part ways with my boys. I'm not
Oh.
crying, you're crying.
we're gonna see him go.
It's just raining. And yeah, right there on that bridge, you go from one fortress to the next.
Narva to Ivangorod.
Yeah, and
You see the
you carry
Estonian
on.
flag flying and the Russian flag, which you can partially see on the camera.
And once upon a time, this was all one grand nation, the Soviet Union. Now it's Estonia, one mighty nation right next to another.
After the special military operation in Ukraine that happened back in 2022, most countries shut down their border, especially countries like Finland, which Stephen and I actually went to. But a border that stayed open to Russia has been this border. So you can really see how important, one of these only open border crossings are for Russians and people who want to visit Russia now that a lot of flights are sanctioned off. If you want to go by plane, you can go through cities like Tbilisi and Istanbul, but this is one of the last passenger bridges open between the EU and NATO and Russia. So for someone who's been on both sides of the border, how does life differ in Narva from Ivangorod and the further provinces?
I would say the most stark difference is the language, of course. Everything switches to Russian. You instantly can tell you're not in the European Union. That's one thing. When you cross the border, the passport process takes about an hour, sometimes two, on both sides together. So the life there is pretty similar, I would say, especially to Narva. Everyone here is Russian. But once you get to St. Pete, it definitely gets very different. The streets start to get wider. The buildings start to get taller. You realize you're no longer in a cutesy little European town like Tallinn, but you're in somewhere very magnitudinous like St. Petersburg, the land of the Tsars.
In many instances, I was very close to the Russian border. In Azerbaijan, 5 or 10 miles. In Georgia, even as close as 1 or 2. But this is probably the closest I will ever get until I go into the Russian Federation.
Did you hear my Soviet joke?
No, say it to the camera.
I said, a Soviet man had just bought a car. And the salesman said, congratulations, here's the keys. The car will be ready in 40 years. The guy said, 40 years? Morning or afternoon? I said, it's in 40 years, doesn't matter. I said, well, yeah, the fridge is coming in the afternoon, so... That's Reagan's joke. So we just got to our place in Narva, and I found this book on the shelf. It's called Porigatir и Namenny Filosof. It's a Soviet knockoff of Harry Potter, where he's using a motorcycle with a peace sign to get from wherever he is in provincial Russia to Hogwarts, which has its own name here. It's Napoteimto. What?
There's weight on your shoulder, you can't heal sober.
Good morning from our lovely Soviet apartment. You have your little kitchen red space right here. You have your bed. You have a wild Stephen Falco. You have the most uncomfortable bed in all of the post-USSR.
Pretty bad.
And in here, you have a bathroom with no sink. Place only costs $20 though.
We gotta brush our teeth in the.
Alright.
Cause the war's never over, and as you get older, you start to learn to obey. With these old ways, yeah, these old ways. Oh, the habit, I have it knocks me down. My old ways.
Some money exchange for the long journey to Russia, 40,000 rubles, and we're off.
I'm not off.
Oh,
I'm not going to Russia. Yeah, we're off to Riga.
the other direction. But this is where we say our goodbyes. So long.
So long. See you, TJ. So now that we just saw off TJ, let's try and catch him on the passenger bridge, see if we can see him sort of walk across. But we're heading into the Narva fort right now. I think there's like a museum open or something.